So this is a sign that was spotted by a tourist in Shanghai who photographed it and shared it online. The Shanghai Citizen 7 Don't Criterion. Criterion G. Don't say 4-letter word. 唔好噏粗口. Everyone who's traveled across Asia will tell you that one of the most enjoyable things about the experience is laughing at all the funny signs, the poorly translated signs in broken English, because this is something that you will see all across Asia. And in China, they are particularly bad because they only opened up to the world recently, so they really had to rush to get things translated into English. And translating from Chinese into English is very difficult because the two languages work so differently. You can't just translate something literally. So as a result, you see a lot of signs and restaurant menus and stuff like that in very funny Chinglish. Chinglish is basically broken Chinese English, but another type of Chinglish is half Chinese, half English, and it's something that's used very much in Hong Kong, where people speak in part Cantonese, part English. For example, you might say to someone, 嗰間餐廳好 popular, that restaurant is very popular. 你有冇打電話 make a reservation 啊? Did you call them to make a reservation? Yeah, so that's an example of common everyday Chinglish where we Hong Kongers insert English words into our Cantonese sentences because sometimes it just flows better. Or for someone like me who grew up in the West, I have a very small vocabulary in Cantonese because I left at the age of 3, so I didn't really learn formally how to speak my mother tongue. I just picked up everyday dinner table talk from listening to my mum and dad speaking. So there's a lot of words I don't know. And so for us, Chinglish is very useful because we can still communicate to our elders in Cantonese while filling in all the Cantonese words we don't know with English substitutes. So yeah, that's another version of Chinglish. Oh my god, that was the longest introduction ever. I'm now gonna move on to the meat of my video, which is talking about Chinglish signs in China. And there was one I came across that was so funny, I'm gonna share it with you guys. So this is a sign that was spotted by a tourist in Shanghai who photographed it and shared it online. The Shanghai Citizen 7 Don't Criterion. So these are 7 things that you shouldn't do in Shanghai. Already I've spotted the first mistake there. Criterion. It's not 7 criterion, it's 7 criteria. Criterion is the singular and criteria is the plural. They're numbered from well, no, that's not numbering, is it? That's lettering. So they're lettered from A to G. Isn't that funny? We don't say that something is lettered. It's only numbered. But sometimes they use letters instead of numbers. Is it correct to say it's lettered A to G? It just sounds wrong, doesn't it? But it's not right to say that it's numbered A to G either, is it? So what am I supposed to say? They're itemized from A to G. I'm highly educated, so I can work these kind of things out. Okay, so A. And I'm going to read this in my Cantonese accent because anytime I do anything Chinese related, I have to pay respect to my elders and use my Cantonese accent. I can't do a Mandarin accent. I know that they don't speak Cantonese in Shanghai, but I was never taught Mandarin. I only know Cantonese, I'm sorry. So criterion A. Don't expectoration everywhere. So how would I say that in Cantonese? 唔好周圍吐口水. I think that's what they mean. Expectoration is a word that we don't really use in the English language as a verb, right? Expectoration is a noun. So I suppose we would say don't expectorate everywhere. But you wouldn't say that either, right? But I understand how they derive this from the translation because a cough syrup is an expectorant. It helps you get the phlegm out of your chest, which is, I presume, what expectoration means in this context. In Cantonese we have a word Like when you go, that's the thing that Cantonese people do a lot, by the way. All Chinese people do this a lot, like openly on the street. And that's why we need a sign, because when you go to China, you'll see mostly Gen Xers and boomers. They'll be walking down the street and they'll go, and then they'll spit out their phlegm. And there's a reason for that, because according to traditional Chinese medicine, it's not good to keep that phlegm inside you. If you feel it wanting to come up, you got to get it out there and then. So people will just expectoration everywhere. But anyway, 唔好周圍咳痰吐口水. I saw a documentary about Chinese tourists in Paris and what a disgrace they are, because they go around expectorationing everywhere. And they come off these tour buses, and I'm talking about a certain type of Chinese tourists, because this doesn't represent Chinese people at all. You know, most Chinese people are embarrassed about these people. They're called the lost generation. They are Chinese elders who have no sort of, how shall I call it? No social etiquette. They weren't brought up in cities. They're actually a result of Mao's Cultural Revolution, sending a whole generation of youth to go work in the countryside and learn farming, agriculture. So they didn't have a modern, progressive, urban education. And then over the last 20 odd years, they got reintegrated by the government back into cities with no knowledge or experience of how to live in a city, except from their childhood. And they all got housed. A lot of them live in these massive high-rise blocks, but they didn't have the education to find work in these cities. And these are the ones who, a lot of them ended up opening factories. And some of them got very wealthy with China's rise to prosperity. And now, for the first time ever, they are leaving China and traveling the world. And a lot of them end up on these group tours around Europe. And they get off these tour buses in Paris and they expectoration everywhere. Yeah, I saw an interview with an owner of a very elegant restaurant in a beautiful street in Paris. That's one of the stops that these tour groups make. And she was complaining about how they shout across the restaurant, they get into scraps, and they expectoration all over her floor. It's so disgraceful and embarrassing for modern Chinese urbanistas who cannot relate to this, and they're like, these are not our people. Okay, criterion B. Don't chuck garbage everywhere. That's the easy one. 唔好周圍抌垃圾. That's a pretty universal criterion, I would say. C. Don't attain public property. Attaint. That's a word I'm not familiar with. I mean, it sounds familiar, and I have an idea what it might mean, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to Google it. Attaint. Subject someone to attainder. Don't you hate that? Circular definitions that define the word with another form of the word. Attaint. Subject someone to attainder. So what is attainder? It's like, what is a woman? Someone who identifies as a woman. Sorry, I shouldn't go off on that tangent. Okay, well, that's the first definition. Second definition, affect or infect with disease or corruption. Oh. Now that gets very interesting. I'm wondering if that's what they mean. Don't go around affecting or infecting people with disease or corruption everywhere you go. That's very broad, isn't it? I mean, you could say that going around expectorationing everywhere is attainting people. But infecting people with corruption. So don't go around corrupting people. That's a pretty... but it says don't attain public property. Well, I suppose don't corrupt public property by defacing it with graffiti, perhaps. Maybe that's what they mean. Sorry, I forgot to do the Cantonese translation. Don't attaint public property. 唔好整public property. See, there's an example of Chinglish, because I don't know how to say public property in Cantonese. That's not dinner table talk, and all I can do is casual everyday dinner table talk. So if I was trying to say this to my elders in Cantonese, this is how I would have to say it in Chinglish. 唔好整壞啲 public property. So perhaps someone in the comments can tell me how I would actually say that in proper Cantonese. Okay, so on to criterion D. Don't destroy virescence. Oh yeah, how would I say that? 唔好整爛 virescence. I don't know how to say destroy, and obviously I don't know how to say virescence. I've never even seen that word before in English. But destroy, to me, is 整爛, right? In Cantonese, I don't know the formal word for destroy. So hopefully, again, someone can educate me in the comments. What's the proper word for destroy? Or is it just 整爛? But yeah, what does that even mean? Like, virescence, is that your expectoration? So when you expectoration into a tissue, don't destroy it. You got to keep it because we got to analyze it. Is that what they're talking about? Or are they saying if you run a lab that deals in virescence, don't destroy evidence of your dealings? But we're not even going to go there. But if I were to, whatever labs there are doing whatever kinds of dodgy things, who is funding them, and for what purpose, and for whose gain? And is it even relevant, or is it all just like a red herring? Never mind, I'm not going to talk about this subject. That's not the purpose of this video. But you know what? It's possible I have this wrong, and virescence has got nothing to do with virology. Let me Google virescence. Virescence. What is the meaning of the word virescence? Virescence is the state or condition of becoming green. Did you know that? Especially such a condition due to the development of chloroplasts in plant organs, such as petals, normally white or colored. So virescence is the state of plant organs turning green. Did you know that? Isn't that funny when you learn a new English word from a poorly written Chinese sign? So don't destroy the... So that makes it even more cryptic. What is it that they don't want us to destroy? Virescence is a condition in which the flower petals are green rather than the normal color, pink, white, etc. So don't destroy the greening of petals. Maybe they mean don't destroy wildlife, nature, don't trample on the bushes. Yes, I don't know if they know what they mean. Okay, on to criterion E. Don't random through street. This I actually think I can translate into Cantonese quite easily. 唔好通街亂咁嚟. Yeah, 亂咁嚟 is a verb we have. Well, it's an expression we have in Cantonese that means randoming. Because there isn't... Random can't be used as a verb in English, can it? It's don't randomly this or that. Don't randomly wander through the street. Or don't randomly yell on the street. Or, you got to randomly something. You can use random as an adverb to describe another verb. So don't randomly X. But don't random is not something that you can say, is it? But in Cantonese, 亂咁嚟 is to random. 冇亂咁嚟. So if for example, if you're trying to blag it and you don't know how to do something, you can learn how to do it and do it properly, or you can just 亂咁嚟, you can just random it. Yeah. As I said, in Chinese we have way more words than you guys have in English. Actually, no, that's not true. We don't have more words, but we have more ways to assemble our existing words together into new words. So a lot of our meaning blocks are derived from joining together of pre-existing words into new meanings. And we have way more of those than you guys have in English. Criterion F. Don't smoking in public concourse. Okay, how would I say that? 唔好喺 public concourse 食煙. Because again, I don't know how to say public concourse in Cantonese. Please could someone tell me how to say public concourse in the comments? And finally, this is my last and favorite criterion, because they saved the best for last. Criterion G. Don't say 4-letter word.唔好噏粗口. That's how I would say it in Cantonese. Don't utter profanities. Because I presume they don't mean any 4-letter word. Don't say goat. Don't say fork. F-O-R-K. Don't say, you get a picture. No, they obviously mean don't say F-U-C-K. That 4-letter word. But see, that's very confusing, I think, for a lot of people, because not everyone will interpret 4-letter word as the F word, right? And in Cantonese, our most common profanity, Diu, is a 3-letter word. Our equivalent of the F word in Cantonese is Diu, D-I-U. So it's okay, you can say Diu, but don't say the F word. Yeah, if you're gonna swear, don't swear in English, swear in Chinese. I mean, 4-letter word doesn't even mean anything in Chinese, because our words don't have letters. We don't use an alphabet consisting of letters. Our words are made of strokes. So if you're in Shanghai, next time you want to yell out the F word, don't, because you'll get in trouble. Just say Diu. 3-letter words are okay. Or you could say 屌你老母臭閪冚家鏟死仆街. That's a lot more than 4 letters, and that's fine. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our analysis. We've gone through all how many is G? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We've gone through all 7 criteria, all of the 7 don'ts for Shanghai citizens. And I'm going to say that's one of my favorite signs I've ever seen. Have you guys seen any funny signs in China or elsewhere in Asia or anywhere in the world that you'd like to share? Please do so in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already doing so, because it makes a huge difference. Thank you.